Speaking of Israel, it is nighttime, and troops are advancing further into the Gaza Strip. As we speak, the extended ground operation enters a fifth day. Prime Minister Netanyahu says this is the second stage of the war, but he has stopped short of calling it a full-scale ground invasion. He went on to say there is no plan to propose a ceasefire. Joining us now is Eliav Benjamin, the Deputy Chief of Mission at the Israeli Embassy in Washington, D.C. Sir, of course, I want to talk to you about the mission, about the ground troops, about IDF, but I have to talk to you about the news that we learned today about that German and Israeli citizen, Shani Luke. You know, she was really a symbol of what happened on October 7th. Sir, your reaction?
Yeah, thank you very much, Elizabeth, for having me here. The news about Shani is devastating. It reached all of us. It touches all of us. She touched all of us with the unforgettable images that we saw of the horrific things that the Hamas have been doing with her. And it's just outrageous to see these images and the way that people are cheering on and laughing and celebrating her death in such a horrible, horrible way. And there are just no words to express the disgust of what they're doing and the horror of her death, which unfortunately joins the news of the death of we're talking about 1,400 people so far who've been massacred and killed in horrific ways, burned to death literally. Bodies desecrated. I've just seen more and more of these images, and it should be difficult for anybody to be able to sleep at night after seeing these horrific things conducted by such a barbaric organization and by people from Hamas and their followers and supporters who just marched into Israel and massacred left, right, and center, and are now also holding over 200 hostages for doing nothing but being different from them.
Yeah, and I've heard a number of your interviews, and I know folks are always pressing you on how you will carry out the ground invasion and be careful of just really the hundreds of folks who are being held captive. And you know what's challenging is that the Israeli army or the IDF is so known for their precision, right? That is what you do. You're very precise in everything that you carry out. But your enemy here is quite the contrary. They have nothing to lose. There are no rules of war. How do you go forward? You have men on the ground.
Yes, Elizabeth, this is very accurate. The Hamas and the other terrorist organizations are doing everything they possibly can to harm innocent civilians, not just Israelis and not just those who are held captive, but also their own people, their own population, something which they've been doing since 2007 when they did this coup and took over Gaza. They are harboring themselves underneath mosques, underneath hospitals, and thinking that Israel is not going to come and attack because Israel is a humane state. We are humane. We are careful about any casualties that are uninvolved. Having said that, we are going to do everything we possibly can to make sure we dismantle Hamas's capabilities in every way, shape, and form, and so that Israelis and foreigners and anybody else around the world can live without having to look over their shoulder. And just today, as part of the operations, we managed to find and rescue Ori Megedish, an IDF soldier who was captured by Hamas, a young woman who was caught. She was sitting there in Hamas captivity. We were managed to release, and we will continue doing everything we possibly can to release these hostages, whether it's us directly, whether it's other forces doing so, and while continuing to call upon Hamas to release unconditionally every single hostage that they're holding there. And yes, we will continue fighting Hamas, and we will do everything, as I said, that we can possibly can to make sure that my brother and his family and other people living around Gaza can live in peace and security for the rest of their lives.
Well, I know this is incredibly personal for you, sir, and I only have about 30 seconds left, but I want to ask you quickly, what are your expectations from the United States? We have so many folks at home who are so emotionally invested in this story, and they think, you know, what's next for our sons and daughters?
So our expectation is exactly as is happening now from the administration on the Hill as well and everywhere else, is a staunch support for Israel's right to defend itself and to fight terrorism, not just in the sake for Israel's sake, but for the entire world and for the US as well. This is ISIS style. This is Al-Qaeda. This is everything that you all know from 9/11, only 10 times larger and bigger. So if we don't manage to fight this together now, tomorrow morning, God forbid, we could find this again on American soil against American citizens. So we need the support for everybody's sake to fight this evil jointly as we have been doing up to now.
All right, Eliav Benjamin, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.